Hey guys, we're back for the final episode of this series, and what a series it has been. We've had some truly amazing guests, and we aim to finish it in just the same way. Today we're joined by two people whose lives have both been affected by coronavirus because of their jobs. Since our last England Sevens player came on, the RFU have announced the cancellation of the England Sevens programme's funding. Today we're joined by England men's and now Saracens, Ben Harris, and England women's and Wasps, Ali Burton. Thank you for joining us, guys. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So how has it been with like sort of the recent news with like the public response and everything? How have you felt personally about it?
Me, I don't know. It's been hard because it was sort of like it sort of came out of nowhere, but we almost got like subtly warned about it in our previous sort of calls that we had, because it was during the time of lockdown, and we hadn't been training for quite a few months, and we just been having Zoom calls as a squad with the coaches, etc. And it sort of it got alluded to, I think, and it was just like almost in denial about it until it actually happened, and then and it was hard. It was hard to take, I guess, for everyone, because everyone's in different circumstances. But I think there wasn't much coverage about it. I think publicly, like it was probably, I'm not sure if they even announced it, but it went to the Telegraph through an article that Burge and Mitch sort of like sorted out. And that gave it, I think that was just very honest, which was quite like refreshing to see, because like we as a team, we just want everyone to, I guess, know what's going on. And because obviously we're all getting asked about it by people that we know and people who know the Sevens program. And it's just, yeah, it was interesting time to go through. But now I think we're sort of going around it just by talking about it and getting as much sort of coverage we can, social media, and trying to get around it that way.
Just quickly before we continue, I sort of touched on it briefly in the intro, but does one of you want to just tell our listeners who perhaps aren't as aware what exactly has happened?
Okay, yeah, go on, Bert.
I'll put on. So this season, so the 2019-2020 season, we were meant to have the Olympics, and we had, I think it was women had 4 World Series stops left, and the men, I think, had 6 left. And they all got cancelled because of coronavirus. But we were still contracted through that time. We were still getting paid our full salaries, like all the way through, until probably about July, when they started getting a few red flags coming about. We took a pay cut, which at the time was difficult, but we knew that we had to do that to potentially keep our programme afloat. And then at the start of August, we got told to like look at other avenues of if this all goes to worst case scenario, which is that it won't be a thing anymore, then we've all got options. But I don't think any of us really thought that was going to happen. I especially didn't. I still had 2 more years left on my contract. I thought that I'll be put on furlough until October, and then potentially the world might have sorted itself out by then. But from that time, at the start of August, we got told that there would be no more Sevens programme. The funding would be cut at the end of August. Everyone's contracts, so including mine and a couple of the other boys and a couple of the girls, our contracts would get cut at the end of August, even though we had like a year, 2 years left on them. And then from that, we've now been trying to self-fund, so trying to find different avenues. The RFU say that they support us, but they just don't have the money at the moment to do that. So our thought process behind it is we're going to go and find the money to basically give the RFU so that they can start back up our programme, because everything that they have said, that they support us, but they don't have the financial support at the moment from losing so much money during COVID, and then not having been able to have fans at Twickenham. So what we're doing at the moment is we're speaking to different companies, different investors, trying to get money through that way. And then we're also trying to get money through self-funding. So our GoFundMe page and our Pledge Me pages, also looking at other companies that can help support us. But the response from the Pledge Me pages and the GoFundMe pages it's been massive. I just think like to have the support back from the public has just been amazing to see. Like a lot of people think that like professional sport is all glamorous, and it's difficult because like I think people put us on a pedestal that they'll be fine, they've earned enough money, but to put matters into perspective, like some of us now struggle to even pay our rent because like we moved to London for the Sevens, and now we're trying to live with the dream of the Olympics still alive. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to just raise money for us to be able to create a full-time program that puts us in the best possible place for us to go to the Olympics. So like on the series, the top 4 teams are all full-time, like up until like the 6th, 7th people, they're all full-time. And for us to be able to compete competitively, we need to be in a full-time program, because otherwise we'll all go off to respective clubs, or some of the men might not even, like all of us girls have sorted ourselves out, but some of the men, like they're struggling to even get into Prem sides, champ sides, because they're so specialised to Sevens, whereas the women's game hasn't developed as much, so we can still flip back across. So we need to be all together for us to be able to have the competition and for us to be able to compete on a world stage at the top level.
So yeah, so Ben, you meant, oh sorry.
I was saying that's a bit of an overview.
Yeah. So Ben, so you mentioned previously, so it was like you said there was an inkling, and so you had that feeling that it was going to happen. Was this something that you felt sort of 12 months, 24 months ago, or was this sort of past 6 months or so?
Well, no, I didn't think that it was going to get cut like until probably like a few weeks before it actually was officially announced. But I'm not gonna lie, well, since I joined the program, so 2 years ago, it was just, there was a lot of like budget cuts and that sort of stuff going on. It was like we had to cut back on certain things. I know a lot of the senior boys took pay cuts, so going into this season just gone, a lot of them took pay cuts and signing new contracts, and then in the build up, like, to it being cut, we had Zoom calls, and it was just like there was either no update or it was, oh yeah, you should be looking for other things. And I remember that's when I think it was like maybe two or 3 weeks before it was officially announced, we had a call, and they were talking about redundancy being a possibility if we didn't get this certain funding, and that's when I sort of was like, I need to look elsewhere now. I was lucky enough to get something with Saracens, but it was almost like it was like in the back of my mind the whole time, but I was almost sort of just like, nah, it wouldn't happen, but of course it fucking did, the end.
Yeah, so one thing which is, some of the reports online say that it was only 5 months, but we want to know, or there's also been some which say it's indefinitely. Have you got any light on that? Because I know they want to obviously restart it, but do you realistically think?
I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie. If they don't have the money now, like I'm not really sure they're gonna get the money back and then prioritize the Sevens. Just from what I gather. But I imagine the Sevens program will be just in a very different format to what it is or what it has been for the past 8-10 years. Like I don't think it'll be full time. I think it's going to be a case of everyone doing whatever, and then they would just grab a load of people for a tournament, get together a few weeks before, do some training, and then go to the World Series. I think that's what it's going to be. I think we want it for, at least leading up to Olympics. We want it to be as full time as possible. So that's like the goal with trying to raise the funding, stuff like that. So, but I think long term, in the near future, I'm not sure, unless it goes to a GB program instead of England, Scotland and Wales. But other than that, I'm not sure. I don't know. What about you, Bert?
I think if we raise the money that we want to raise, then we will go back full time. I think that it will depend what situation. So I think the boys are in a different situation to the women. With that, a lot of our women have now signed new contracts with clubs. So we now have to see that out, which, like, if there's no rugby going on the series, then that's what we want to do, is to play rugby wherever we can. But then from my understanding, with the RFU, if we don't raise this money, then it will be like what Ben said, that will come in potentially like a week or 2 weeks before a World Series. So I think the one that hasn't been cancelled yet is Hong Kong. So that will be the first one in April next year. So from my understanding, we'll come in a week, maybe 2 weeks before train. But before the Olympics, before Tokyo, we will go. I don't see. It's all like we don't really know. But from my understanding, we would be full time, funded by UK Sport. But then I don't really know. It's all very no one's giving us a definite answer, because I think that they genuinely don't know. Like, they don't know what financial situation that they'll be in. Like, the RFU thought that they would be able to have crowds at the Six Nations that are coming up in the autumns that are coming up, but now they're not, so they can't get money back off of that, and they had planned that they would. So it's like it's all just a big uncertain ball of uncertainty.
Yeah, I think Olympic wise, what happened with the last one is they just have, obviously we were a full-time program before, but I think if you're just looking at it from a GB point, they just have camps for a few months. I don't know if it's that long, but it's maybe 6 weeks before the team's announced, something like that. So I think that's how it worked Olympic-wise, but just based off what happened in the last one. But other than that, I'm not too sure.
Do you think this has potential to be career-ending for some of the older guys within both squads and girls? Sorry.
Yeah, potentially. I know a few of the boys were looking to move on after the Olympics, which would have been the summer just gone. So I know some of them are geared up to sort of call it there, or to move on to other things, like within rugby or out of rugby, after sort of doing that. So this obviously would have been a bit of a spanner in the works, and they can. Yeah, I think it's hard, because especially now we're not like full-time training, and now it's like we don't have the access to the physios or the SSCs as much as we did. If they can't really keep it up, then I guess coming back might be tough. But I don't know. What about the girls? I'm not too sure.
So she won't mind me saying, because she already announced it to the media. Heather Fisher. Fish was coming to the end of her career. She was deciding that she was going to pack it in after the Olympics. She's 36. Like, she's an absolute machine of a human. She's had alopecia for 10 years. Like, the career that she has had has been amazing, and she didn't want this whole COVID thing to damper that situation, because she wanted to go out on an Olympics, and she will still be gunning to go to the Olympics next year. But the rest of us, we have quite a relatively young squad. I think that Fisher is the eldest by about 5 or maybe 6 years. So the rest of us kind of, we're just going into other avenues, whether that be some of the girls going into the England 15 stuff, some of us just doing the 7 stuff, or like just doing club stuff, but with the hope of still an Olympics. So I think that the only person who I would think of who would ever even come to similarity with this situation was Fish, but Fish is not going down without going to another Olympics. So I think that we're all, I don't think for any of us girls it would be career ending for us. I think that our squad has got a very bright future ahead of us, and I think that this wouldn't stop that situation, especially with how much stuff we've gone through trying to get women's sport professional and stuff like that. I don't think that, I know it sounds like a global pandemic, but like I don't think that could stop the momentum that we're shifting within like women's rugby at the moment. So yeah.
For sure. So I guess you previously mentioned that GB setup and how that's a possibility, how they might create a GB team as opposed to England. Is this something that the players are sort of looking forward to? What's sort of the general opinion of that around the program?
What, as in like playing wise?
Yeah.
England, Scotland, all playing together rather than playing as an individual.
Wait, sorry, say that again, sorry.
Do you want me to go? I'll go.
Yeah, you go.
So we had already had one camp before the whole COVID stuff had happened. So we had a camp up in Scotland, and we had, I think it was 6 or 7 of the Scottish girls and 3 of the Welsh girls. And I loved it. Like, honestly, I absolutely loved it. Just for us to be able to, like, we usually only have 15 of us training, and sometimes that's literally 10 of us training, and then John Brake, one of the coaches, and then Hates is just our coach who had just literally had his ACL operation. They're both like running around, like joining in with us. So it was so good for us to have just like more people. Like we could play 7v7 with subs, which like is amazing. Like when you're dying and you've got no one to come on for you, like in training, that's the hardest thing. So, and then just to be able to like, we were doing one in Scotland, one in Wales, and one in England. And we did, I think it was Gaelic dance. Is Gaelic dancing a thing? I think it was.
I think so.
Yeah, so we did like a whole evening of that. And just to be able to just like integrate with like their cultures and stuff like that. We did like quiz night, Gaelic dancing. Like it was so fun. Like they just took it and they were just like, right, everybody in their own groups, we're just gonna do these steps, these dances, and they were just showing us all, and it was so good. And it was just like, it was so refreshing just to have like other people around, just to get to know, because like we've all been together, like our squad have been together for 2 years roundabouts, with like a few people coming in and out. So you get to know each other pretty well. And then it's quite refreshing to have somebody else to get to know, because like the sevens bubble is your life, and you don't really meet new people unless you actively go out and seek for it. So it, like, just to be able to do that was like amazing. And I was really looking forward to like the opportunities for us to be able to play together, because it was so competitive. Like we had no sort of like structure to play off of. Everyone has different calls, but it was so competitive, and like that was so exciting, because I think that like I was certain that we were going to go to the Olympics this year and win a medal. Like that's how certain I was. And just because I knew with the level of competition that we had within Scotland, England and Wales, that like everybody was fighting to be on that team. And I think that because there's less of us in England and trying to make the England team, maybe that competition isn't as heightened, because there was only like 3 positions where people didn't necessarily know who was going to go, but then everybody else was kind of certain, because we only had 15 people to pick from and you were taking 13 or maybe 12. So it was really exciting, and I was really looking forward to it. But I'll look forward to it next year.
Anything to add, Ben?
No, we didn't have any camps, so like I didn't go to obviously the last one, so I'm really.
But the idea of playing with Wales and Scotland, is that something the squad are keen to do, as in on the, not just for Olympics, but within the actual series?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think financially, yeah, it benefits us a lot, and Wales, I guess, because Wales have also cut their sevens program. But Scotland were pretty adamant that they want us to keep their sevens program going, because they like it as a pathway, and it helps a lot of their boys. And I know a few of their players. Sorry, one of their players spoke about it on a podcast with Chippy and Mitch from the sevens team, that they think that they wouldn't get as much game time on, like for like particularly the young lads. So like, I mean, take me for example, and maybe if it was a GB program and I joined, I wouldn't have got the opportunity that I had, like, because it was England and it was a small team, that it was a small squad. I was lucky enough with injuries, so you get time on the series. But with a GB program, I know Scotland were worried that they wouldn't be able to use it as a tool to develop players, because if it's a bigger team and it's more competitive, then I guess you're less likely to get in there. But I think it's a cool idea, and it could work out very well for the unions. But you need all three. You need all three to agree to it, and unfortunately, Scotland aren't really keen for it. So I don't know. Maybe one day.
Before we move on, can I just, so Abby, you mentioned that you were very confident of winning a medal at the Olympics. Do you think both, obviously the men won a medal in 2016, but if the men and the women were both to win a medal, that would sort of provide evidence of why the sevens should get back in, that help the financial situation?
Yeah, 100%. I think that I think the men were definitely proving that they should have, that with the men's, like they had won so many medals on the series already, and because we just came together, there was a massive. So when I came in 2018, there was 7 of us who came in, so that is over half the team basically who were coming in. So we were just finding like a groove. We played together so much now, and we were finally starting to put out performances. And I felt like there's a reason why GB isn't a core team on the series, because they know it's a super team, and they know it's like they genuinely do. They know it is, because there's so many different people coming from so many different nations that like it is a super team, like it's a core super team, and there is a reason why they didn't want that on the series to begin with. So to have that at an Olympics, it's a really special opportunity because teams don't know what we play like. Teams like none of the teams will know what GB plays like together. So like I was certain that the men and women were going to go and win a medal. Like I was certain about that, and I think it would have proved that we are a viable, like not like viable commercialization, but like we bring a lot to the RFU and to GB, and I think that would have done that, but obviously we didn't get that opportunity. So it's just we need to take our opportunities when they come. So with that next year.
Sure. So I guess you guys are both playing 15s now. How was the transition from the 7s to the 15s this year?
Yeah, it was actually quite hard. You know, I haven't played 15s, so this is the first time I played professional 15s. Because when I finished school, I was straight into the 7s program, and so I hadn't played 15 for 2 years. And it was just weird because I didn't when I played it when I was 18, I didn't really have any like knowledge of the game or anything. So all my understanding of rugby was 7s, like defensive systems, sort of stuff like that. And having to learn moves again was absolutely fucking baffling. Like I still can't do it now. Like I've got to put a name to moves, and I've done on my lines. It's taken a while to get it. And like specifically as a winger, like there's a lot of defensive stuff in the backfield, which took just learning, like making a lot of mistakes. But it was I've got the hang of it. I've started to get the hang of it now, and I can now sort of learn through understanding the 15s game instead. But I often find myself a lot like going back to what I learned at 7s, which is like useful and puts me in a different place to other players. But I think it's a good transition. Like I had to learn other stuff, like kicking, for example, taking the high ball slightly differently, all that jazz. But it's been a good couple months, but just a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, and a lot of learning.
I second that.
Are you still prepping for the 7s at all on the side, or are you solely focused on playing for Saracens and Wasps respectively?
At the moment, not really thinking about 7s that much. Only because I'm not gonna lie, there's not really much to think about. Like even if there is something going on with 7s, it's not going to be until next year, like April, earliest April. So it's not something on my mind at the moment, but it's definitely still one of my goals for this year. Like over 15s in that respect, like trying to get to the Olympics, and trying to play whatever World Series there are this year. Just trying to get on those. But I think nearer the time, like having had chats with the coaches at Saracens and the S&Cs and stuff, near the time when there's something on the horizons, I can gear up a little bit better for it, like fitness wise and gym wise and stuff like that. But not for now. For now, I'm just focusing on 15s and trying to learn how to fucking take a high ball from a box kick.
For me, so I've moved into the forwards, so I play back row in 15s. So I spent 2 years in 7s trying to learn not to be a back row, for me then to come out of 7s and then going, right, you're now going to go into a line out, off you go. And I was like, okay. So like I'm still doing, so like 1 day a week, I still do the back skills session, just to keep on top of that. But other than that, I found it really difficult to begin with because I was like, my head's still like, I want to go to an Olympics. Like I wanted to do that all my life. That's my dream. But then I also want to be one of the best 7s in the world. Like that's my dream. I also want to go to a World Cup. Like those are my dreams that I want to put up there. And that it's taken me a while to think, actually there's no 7s for a while. You need to just chill out, because I got myself so stressed out about, like I was saying to Ben the other day, like for 2 years I've been constantly trying to lose weight for 7s to be able to be as lean as possible. But now, like I don't need to do that anymore. And it was like
15 start, baby.
It's just like trying to get like the balance between it. So I've just had to park sevens for now, just park it, but it's not too far away, but I've just parked it because I just need to focus on, like, I want to be able to have potential game time with the 15s this year. Like, that's what, like, I want to play international, like, regardless if it's sevens or 15s. So trying to put myself in the best possible place now. There's 15s coming up, so what can I do to do that instead? So yeah, just have to park it for a little bit, but it's still always there with the one back session a week where I'm running around backs.
Is there potential for this then to become a long-term plan? There's obviously, if you look at someone like Rowan McConaughey, who switched from 7s to 15s and he went to a World Cup, is that potential that you could decide, actually, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, like, that's, for me, when I came into the sevens, I am not your typical sevens player. Like, I'm really slow. Like, I'm not really very quick. I'm not really very steppy either. But like,
oh, don't be too harsh on yourself.
but it's true. So like, I had written off sevens when I was 18. I was like, I'm a back rower. I want to go to a World Cup. That's it. And then I got the opportunity at the same time to have a 15s contract and a 7s contract. And I was like, I've wanted to go to Olympics since I was like literally 7 years old. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. And I've actually got this opportunity, and I'm never going to be as quick and I'm never going to be as fit as what I am now compared to later on in life. So I was like, right, I'm going to go do the 7s, do what I want to do in the 7s, which is an Olympics and a Commonwealths, and then hopefully go give a World Cup a shot. And that's what I've said that I've always wanted to do. And there is the opportunity to do that this year. However, I don't want to think, oh, I could do both, because if I think that, then I could miss out on them both. And that's like really difficult because I don't want to be in that position. So I'm just trying to take my opportunities when they come. And the main goal is an Olympics. But then if the opportunity comes about to play 15s and go to a World Cup, then I'll do it. Like, I'll literally jump at it. Like, obviously I've got to play well to be able to do that, but that's the opportunity that I want to be able to have, is after I've done what I want to do in sevens, I want to go to a World Cup.
Yeah, sure. So Ben, you're actually like our first player who's involved with Saracens at the moment, and obviously the recent news of the relegation. How has it felt? Sort of, I guess you've only been there for the past few months or so, but have you noticed sort of in training and so on that Saracens are more like prepping for the future and sort of looking this as an opportunity to for the future?
I don't know. It was, I think, with the Champions Cup, that was like the priority for the rest of the season. After obviously we got after we got announced a few months ago that we were getting relegated, we just wanted, I know the club wanted just to prioritise Champions Cup and try and do the best we could with that, because it was the only thing we had to play for, really. And so it's such a shame, obviously, losing so last minute to Racing, but there's definitely a sense of togetherness, because it was like sort of they went through the adversity of it, and then now they've had to like come together. And obviously I wasn't there at the time. I've only been there about 2 months now, so I can't really speak about it then, but there's definitely, like, they're a really, really close group, and I've loved sort of getting involved and trying to get to know everyone and sort of become a part of it, really. But they're definitely quite a strong group, a close knit group, and I think that shows in how successful they've been in recent years.
What was the reaction within the squad after that Farrell challenge on Atkinson against Wasps?
There wasn't a whole lot, really. I think he had his disciplinary. I mean, it was just a mistake, wasn't it? Like he had his disciplinary the day after, on the Monday or something like that, and it wasn't really spoke about that much. It was just, you know, he didn't mean to do it, and I think that reflected in his reaction, and in his sort of like I don't know what you call it, his ban. Like, they reduced it, didn't they, because of the sort of player he is, type of person he is. So, but yeah, not a massive amount.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. But one thing we do ask, even though we haven't really focused on your careers as such, is we ask every guest for their favourite moments. So we're wondering what yours were within the sort of sevens or maybe 15s world.
Go Birds.
My favourite moment was 2019 Kitakyushu final. versus Canada. We hadn't really played that great all year, and then we changed the whole of the way that we played, and we came second. We literally lost in the last play of the game, 2 minutes overtime. They scored and dropped the kick, but it was the first time that I'd ever sung the national anthem, and like just you don't think about anything else in the world while you're singing it, and it was just like, and I was surrounded by Amy Wilson-Hardy and Al Matthews, who are my two idols growing up in the 7s and in 15s, and I just thought, oh, I've made it. Like I've done what I was set out to do. And I was literally just like there, just like singing the national anthem with my two like idols next to me. Yeah, that was my best moment.
Yeah, actually pretty similar for me. It was the Olympic qualifiers, so last summer, 2019 in France. And obviously we needed to win the tournament to go to the Olympics, and I was involved and like in the team. And it was the final singing the national anthem as well. So it's the only time I've ever done it, because we never got to a final in the World Series, so never had to do that. And it was I guess similar, because we're obviously, me and Burton are the same age. We've been in the program for the same amount of time. So it was like I was just sort of looking next to me, like, oh, I've got my arms around, and I was like, fuck me, this is cool, like really cool. And obviously singing the anthem's cool. The only time I get to wear the anthem jacket, so that was a nice bit of something to do. I had to look up the lyrics. to the fucking anthem just before we ran out. I was like, oh god, I can do the first bit, but then when it gets to like the sort of second verse, I'm like just humming it a little bit. I was like, fuck. That was a really good experience though. And I love looking back at photos and memories from that time, because we had a tournament just before that, like pre-Olympic qualifiers, and that was such good fun in Moscow. And that time was just pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, Ben, Abby, that was fantastic. Thank you very much for jumping on. It's our first time with sort of two guests, and I think it works really well, hearing sort of both men's and women's sides of how the Sevens program is going now and how it looks for the future. So thank you.
That's all right. Cheers for having us.
Yeah. Well, we'll link sort of all your GoFundMe pages and everything at the bottom of the episode to sort of raise publicity, because that's obviously something we'd love to do. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to all our listeners. End of the season. Well, I had a fantastic time, and we'll catch you soon. See you next.
Come on!